Commercial UAV Expo. Welcome to NestGen Express Weather Reports. I'm here with Don Berchoff, the CEO of True Weather Solutions. And Don, I'm just curious, what is the weather like today?
Today is actually a seasonal day here in Las Vegas. It's 96 degrees, it's sunny. It's your typical desert weather in the middle of September.
So it's hot.
It's hot.
Damn hot.
It's always hot.
Okay, yeah. It's just a hot day in Las Vegas. It's the desert. It is the desert. Got it. Okay, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, but speaking of hot days, and speaking of weather, what sort of impact does weather have on beyond visual line of sight drone operations?
Well, you know, the main thing
You can describe it.
The main thing is that when we start doing beyond visual line of sight operations, we're not going to have a pilot on the aircraft. Right? So most of the times, weather data is uncertain. Winds are uncertain, cloud height could be uncertain, visibility could be uncertain. Only at airports do we actually measure the weather. And everywhere else, we're not measuring it. Nope. So it's a model. So the pilot gets us out of a lot of bad weather forecasts, right? They actually fly the best weather sensor we have on board. And we've depended on that for many years, and it's allowed the weather aviation system to work. But when we take the pilot out, and you're starting to fly drones 10 miles, 15 miles, and you really don't know what the conditions are in valleys or how the winds are behaving around a terrain, it becomes a mystery. And that's what we're seeing right now is people are starting to fly longer distances. They're starting to have a higher weather cancellation rate. And the reason it is because of the uncertainty. You just can't fly if you're not certain. And so True Weather, that's what we're working on, is closing those low altitude weather gaps with better weather sensor data. You can't solve this problem with a weather model.
Sure.
You have to solve it with real data.
That makes sense. No, I think that totally makes sense. The thing that I'm curious about, so what sort of like real-time technologies are available for getting that weather for the drone community?
Well, there's really no options that we're all used to seeing.
Sure.
All right. The aviation weather system was built with the government in the center of it. Most of your regulations have been for approved weather sources, so you have to use approved weather data. What we've done in ASTM is we rewrote the standard for weather. FAA is behind this. And what this is going to allow us to do is get away from having to use certified weather instruments in the future. We'll be using a data performance standard. This will mean that we'll be able to use lower cost sensors to fill the gaps than we have been able to use in the past. And there's a program called NTAP with the FAA. Okay. NTAP is going to allow us to use the current new weather data standard even before it becomes a rule in the next couple of years to test it. And True Weather will be working with operators, and we'll have these sensors that we can work with them to deploy in areas that they're flying to close these gaps and do it affordably and allow them to get back more flight time and operate safely and really improve their business risk case. So the sensors we're talking about are not sensors that people have seen before.
Okay.
All right, this is what True Weather is about, advanced weather technologies and capabilities.
Sure.
And we're bringing that out now. We're unleashing that in our platforms.
I think that's really exciting. I am curious though, so like can the drones themselves be used to gather some of this weather data?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the solutions. So when we talk about closing these low altitude weather gaps, we're talking about winds above ground level, above tree level, maybe not here in the desert, but what you do have to worry about here in Vegas is the winds around buildings.
Yes.
Right? And those are not forecasted today. Nobody has that data. What we're talking about is taking data off of drones to also help to calibrate and validate what's happening. It gives us another source of weather information, but we need a diverse set of sensors because if the drones aren't flying, you still need data to know when you can fly. So we're working all those sensor components, integrating that into a one-stop shop. And the only difference will be is that when we start taking data off of drones, they will have to follow the standard if you want to resell that or make it available in the UTM system. You will be able to use your own drone data if you want, and that doesn't have to be quantified through the rule if you're using it for your own risk management.
Okay.
But as soon as you want to make that available into the UTM system, it's going to have to go through the new standard, which is to quantify the goodness of your data. We have to know what the error rates are. The bottom line is many weather sensors have errors in them.
Of course.
And if you're taking weather data off of drones, where you put your sensor on the drone could be in the wrong place. You get water wash, you get battery heat. These are all important factors when you're trying to collect weather data. We want to at least know what the error rates are. So they're going to have to know what those error rates are in order to turn it into the system.
So it sounds like we're still a little bit off from being able to make this sort of like, to close the gap. Closing the gap is still not a today thing. So what do we do sort of in the interim? What steps can we take to sort of ensure that sort of the weather conditions that we don't have a good idea about, that we just have models for today, that they don't compromise the safety and efficiency of BVLOS operations today?
It's going to be a risk management decision by the pilot. What we're seeing right now is BVLOS for some kind of drone operations, they have a 40% weather cancellation rate, and it's not because of the weather. The weather's only driving them about a 20%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But it's the other 20% on top of that, it's the uncertainty. They've got to be assured that they're not going to put their drone or people or ground at risk, so they cancel. And so the bottom line is until we get these data gaps closed, you're not going to see the kind of scaling that you're going to want to see, and you're not going to see the kind of revenue generation that is possible when you have better data. And that's what we're focused on. There are ways today that you can close these gaps. We're working with different companies. If you're working with a detect and avoid company that's putting a radar on a tower, or we can put a weather sensor on that tower with them. And it doesn't have to be very expensive. And that sensor will give us the wind data above the tree level and give us certainty. We could do the same thing with some ground-based ceilometers. We can put them out in the field with you so that when you're flying your BVLOS, we can know what the ceiling heights are. So there are solutions today. And that data that we collect from those sensors gets fed into TrueFlight V360, and we turn that data back around to you in real time with all our other data. So you're getting a better picture. So there are things you could do today. It's not going to be perfect, but we want to keep working this off. That's the key, right? We want to get better and better and better as we get along.
Absolutely. And I think these sort of baby steps along the way that we're taking, they're just critically important as we learn the lessons that are going to take us into the future. So that's well said, sir. I know that I'm personally excited for that. I think weather is an extremely important topic in anything aviation, and being that we are part of the aviation industry, more and more accepted, we absolutely need to help where we can, because there's so much more of us. There's so many more of us, and it's scaling so rapidly that we can provide such an amazing base of information for the rest of the aviation world. And that's huge.
That's what's happening.
That's huge. That's huge. So, Don, that's all the questions I really had for you today, but I just want to say thank you for coming on NestGen Express with us today. Really appreciate your weatherman impression. I think that was really great. You know, we're just having a little fun. Just having a little fun here.
What you don't know is I actually, I had one day in 1989 where I actually did the weather on Channel 7 in Washington, D.C.
I love that.
Yeah. Cool. They were looking for a weekend weatherman.
Sure.
And they put out this, they made it into like a joke, and you had to write a postcard of why you want to be a weekend weatherman.
Sure.
And they had 10,000 postcards.
Oh my goodness.
I got selected as one of the final 8, and then I got to do the weather on Channel 7 in DC in 1989. And the thing is that the person they had hired already without telling anybody was the ringer. It turns out that I was good enough that they said, if we had known that we could actually get somebody good enough, we would have hired you. But here's the thing. I'm glad I didn't do that. I did my military career, and we wouldn't be here right now doing the kind of work we're doing if I had been on Channel 7 in Washington.
Definitely not. That is a good story. This is why we're here. We're here to share stories, we're to share experience, get smarter as an industry. Don, thank you so much for going on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.